the early rain and the latter rain. We want to consider a very short lesson concerning the early rain and the latter rain. Christ promised that before his coming, the state of the church will be likened to 10 virgins, 5 of whom were wise and 5 foolish. In a summary, that's what we are saying. Just about when Christ was living, he predicted the destruction of Jerusalem. After giving events that will lead to the destruction of Jerusalem, he ascended. After his ascension, the next great event that took place was the outpouring of the Holy Spirit in the form of the early rain. The disciples who understood the early rain and partook of its blessings received the oil in the form of the wise virgins. And with the help of the Holy Spirit, they were able to interpret events as it occurred therefrom. They were able to understand, and they realized that the abomination of desolation, which Christ spoke of in Matthew 24:14, has taken place with the help of the Holy Spirit. Some of the Christians, or the others, they couldn't believe. Once they couldn't believe it, they remained as foolish virgins. That portion of history divided the church into two, and that was in the last days before the destruction of Jerusalem. When this event has taken place, even though they were together in Jerusalem, yet they were divided into two based upon the events that were happening at that time. In our day and age, we call it based upon the present truth. Those who believed the present truth and those who thought things were quite normal. So the wise saw the events happening, and then they adjusted themselves to the events and responded accordingly. The wise, and they saw the events happening, but they couldn't apply their wisdom to that one. And eventually, Jerusalem was destroyed. The wise escaped out of the city before it was finally destroyed. Those same history plays back before the second coming of Christ. On the same day when Christ predicted the destruction of Jerusalem, he also added destruction of the whole world, after which he ascended to the heavens. After his ascension, he promised of the outpouring of the latter rain before he comes. Just like the early rain came in the day of Pentecost, the latter rain will come before the coming of Jesus Christ. And at the coming of the latter rain, the oil supply begins to the 10 virgins, of which only the 5 wise were able to understand. And the outpouring of the Holy Spirit comes as a sign of Joel. And from that time, the abomination of desolation spoken of by the Daniel prophet will also follow. These could only be understood by the wise virgins. At the arrival of the abomination of desolation, the church is divided into two, among the wise and the fools. From this division, we enter into the last days. So the wise keep on preparing for heavenward, and the foolish also prepares to remain here on earth. Now, when the abomination of desolation is finally developed, then the wise shall be fully sealed, and the fools will remain unsealed. Then comes the destruction of our world. At that time, before the wise will know that indeed they have been sealed. Just like the wise Christians who escaped the destruction of Jerusalem knew that they were finally saved. This is our story.